It's Unscripted on the Field of 68, the Michigan State basketball podcast. It's Carter Elliott's birthday. He's in California. He's living the West Coast life. Let's show some love to our favorite 6'8" friend, Carter. Happy birthday, first of all. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm nervous. I haven't been able to think about anything since Sunday, seeing the draw. I haven't been able to think about anything except this unscripted episode where we're going to go into it, and do not want to jump the gun. But for the past couple of days, I've been doing nothing but basically just zeroing in on this matchup with Davidson. And I have some things that I've uncovered, and I'm not going to say they're positive and I'm not going to say they're negative, but we'll get to that.
Wow.
But I'm excited, man. Like, this is, despite what happens with my team or Michigan State or anything, like, this is legit my favorite month of the year. And it's not because of my birthday. Like, March Madness is it for me. So I'm hella excited to watch games.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a really, really fun 3 weeks here. I have a bunch of logistics things to get through at the top. The plan for this episode, we will preview Michigan State Davidson and the rest of their potential run. We will discuss Michigan State's performance in the Big Ten tournament and how they're playing right now. And then I also want to give you just my biggest takeaways from being on site at the Big Ten tournament this week. We'll probably start with that. But first, some logistics. We are brought to you, as always, by our friends at BetRivers. Carter and I will be making a road trip to the Rivers Casino in Philadelphia. We'll be driving all day Wednesday, and we will be on site Thursday, Friday with the Field of 68. We will be on site Saturday, Sunday without the Field of 68, just as Sleepers Media. So hell of a weekend coming for you boys. And then the Sleepers will again reconvene on the road to New Orleans in just a couple weeks for the Final Four. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to Sleepers Media and obviously the Field of 68 to make sure you don't miss anything. We'll continue doing these unscripted episodes for as long as Michigan State continues to play. Also, Carter, we have a Sleepers Bracket Challenge we'd like people to join. We'll probably tweet that out from our personal pages at some point. And there's also a Field of 68 bracket challenge you should also join. The nice thing about these brackets, you can do multiple. You don't have to do just one. They're all free to enter with a lot of cool prizes. And that's from Bracket Fanatics, I believe, is what the Field of 68's challenge is through. So look for the links in the bios, basically, is what I'm telling you. But Cart, let's jump to the Big Ten tournament. That's where I was the last 4 days. It was a great 4 days of basketball. A lot of crazy shit happened. Let me ask you first, my friend, did you watch any of the Big Ten tournament? How tuned in were you?
I did. I was very tuned in. I watched every game, actually. Some of it was streamed from my phone because I was on a flight to California for one of the games, so I had to stream that. But I was able to watch a lot of the games, a lot of great bars here in California that have a lot of TVs and happy hour deals. So I was able to watch all the games. It was an extremely exciting tournament. Everything that you did there, the content was top tier. And interested to hear what your thoughts are from being on site and seeing it, because just all in all, for me, I think a good positive Michigan State performance for me. I felt a lot better after the Big Ten tournament than I did going in. So, I got to take the small wins right now. Can't be too greedy about it. But all in all, I'm, pleased with Michigan State's performance at the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, you have to be 100%. I have 6 key takeaways, Cart, that I'd like to just fly through, and you can tell me how much you buy into these takeaways or not. But all in all, very educational, very fun week at the Big Ten tournament. I have a bunch of stories for people that we may share at some other time, but like quick hitters, shared an elevator with Brad Stevens. Got to meet Dwayne Washington Jr. and dap him up. Spike Albrecht recognized me. Like, Spike Albrecht was literally walking back into the game from Purdue's halftime, night 1, the first game they played. And like, he stopped and was like, "Hey," and like, we had a little conversation. That was the first time anyone who matters has ever recognized me. So that was very fun. I feel like there's something else. Oh, Mike Schmitz. Yeah. Mike Schmitz, ESPN draft guy. I got to sit courtside with him and Kevin Sweeney for a couple of games, and turned into really picking his brain and on a lot of stuff. And he actually picked my brain a little bit on Michigan State guys. We can talk more about that later, but he is not a fan of Max Christie, and he is a surprising small fan of Gabe Brown. So interesting there, but the guy really knows his stuff. It was good talking to him. All in all, great trip. But Card, I have 6 takeaways that apply to Big Ten teams, and I'll fly through these one by one, and you can tell me whether you believe or you do not believe these. Start with Michigan, the first team to lose in the Big Ten tournament. I was in shambles. They were up 17 points at half, I believe, and then it was gone like that. I've never seen something disappear so quickly. What I will tell you, I was courtside for this game, and it was like a palpable thing where you could just feel like the entire arena was drowning. Like as soon as Indiana got on like a 5-0 run, there was no doubt in anybody's mind that they were going to be on like a 20-0 run. And I'm not saying that's like Michigan's fault that they were defeated or anything, but like the Indiana crowd was there. Xavier Johnson literally looked like he turned into the Frankenstein monster. Like they were just thriving off of it. TJD had like an energy and an intention to do stuff that I've never seen from him before. So I don't know if that's half Michigan, but I guess my takeaway as it applies to Michigan is just like this team's identity is what it is. That's not changing. I think they got a pretty good draw in the NCAA tournament that like could allow them to win 2 games and it wouldn't be crazy. But at the same time, don't trick yourself into Michigan, folks. Like this Michigan team needed to win 1 game in a game it was up 17 points in against a team it had a great matchup with, and it couldn't do it to feel safe. Like these dudes are front runners. Hunter Dickinson was nowhere to be found. He wouldn't look at the rim again. They got punked off the floor. Devontae Jones was falling. They're front runners, and they couldn't handle it, Cart. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell whether I was more so impressed with how much better Indiana looked with a different Xavier Johnson. Like you said, like that Indiana team, I'm not saying their team is going to make a run in March in the tournament, but they are a completely different team if they're getting that out of Xavier Johnson. Like, because it just, and then you get the TJD that you've been getting all year, which is a guy playing at an All-American type level. Like, you know, that's just another piece to it. And you know, it doesn't change my stance on Michigan. Like, I think Michigan is who they are. They're a roller coaster team. Who knows what they're going to do in the tournament. I'm personally going to pick Colorado State to beat them, even though, you know, I think that Michigan actually matches up pretty well with Colorado State. Like it's a game they should win, but if we know anything about that Michigan team, they don't win games that they should. So
the thing is, both their first 2 games, potentially, not to look ahead, but they don't play anybody in the rotation over 6'9", either of those games. Colorado State goes almost entirely 6'6" for the majority of games. They are going to double the post aggressively, but that is the flip of what Big Ten teams do against Hunter. Usually they let Hunter eat one-on-one and try to limit the other guys. Like, this will be a big Eli Brooks, Caleb Houston game, but I think they're going to get really open shots as long as Hunter Dickinson takes care of the ball. So I like the matchup strategically for Michigan in a pretty big way. The other thing is their guards are both sub 6 foot. So they're not going to torch Eli or Devontae Jones just from being taller, which is how they've struggled with defending guards for the course of the entire season. And it's the same with Tennessee. You can look at Tennessee and say they're a great defense. They don't really have a post presence, and they don't really have big guards that are going to torch you off the dribble. So there's a path there, but again, nothing changed about my belief in Michigan from watching this disaster. And I guess my flip side takeaway number 2 that also applies to that game is Indiana. And I still don't believe in Indiana. I think they were just running off fumes of how crazy and electric the atmosphere was. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think they played great basketball. I kept looking at like their game against Iowa, who is playing great basketball to me. Like, Indiana controlled the game, but they had about 100 chances to just hit some key shots and pull away. And like Parker Stewart was not contributing anything. Miller Kopp was not contributing anything except for 1 shot late in the Iowa game. Like, there's Xavier Johnson and Trace Jackson Davis, nothing else. I think a lot of people have talked themselves into like Indiana can beat Wyoming and they can make a run. I don't feel that way at all. I think Indiana's lucky to make the tournament. They're lucky they played Michigan, who didn't stick a fork in them when they could have. And that was just a little March Madness run from Mike Woodson's Indiana team during his nap time. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but I mean, on the flip side of that, like people talk about how Iowa is one of the best teams in the country, and a lot of people are even picking Iowa to make a Final Four and win it all in some of their brackets. And they had Iowa on the ropes if they don't have some meltdowns towards the end of the game where they leave Keegan Murray and Jordan Bohannon open, and Jordan Bohannon doesn't bank in a three from the top of the key from deep. Like, they take one of the best teams in the country. But I get what you're saying too. I mean, they were running off just pure adrenaline. And we saw it even at Big Ten Media Day. Like, Indiana down there is just different. Like, their booth was the most full. I know that place was rocking with Indiana fans. So maybe they were just kind of running off that high a little bit. I mean, teams make tournament runs. We've seen it in every conference, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate it, to be honest. I knew it would feel like a home game, but it felt, I don't know what Assembly Hall feels like. It was rocking whenever they were on a little run. The Iowa game was weird because Indiana did control it on the scoreboard, but to me, that came entirely down to when Philip Rebraca was on the court. I tweeted this out plus minus stuff. He was minus 20 in 8 minutes in the first half and just could not stick with Indiana's front court whatsoever. When they subbed him out and they put Chris Murray in with Keegan, Iowa went on a 9-0 run 3 consecutive times. So I think Fran's being strategic and holding Chris Murray back intentionally. That's not going to happen in the tournament when it matters, but he's 100% trying to do the 3 straight years I had an All-American. And honestly, Chris Murray might be that good next year. I'm not saying he's Keegan, but Chris Murray can do almost all of the things Keegan Murray can do right now. Yes. Chris Murray this year is not far behind at all where Keegan was last year. So we'll see what happens, but I'm out on Indiana still. My third takeaway is the Iowa Hawkeyes. Cart, I think this team will have the hardest or the farthest run in March. I turned it into a joke. I'm a Hawkeye fan now. Okay. It was for content, but also it's not a joke. This team is my favorite team to watch in the entire country. They never take a bad shot. They scored 64 points, I believe, in the first half against Northwestern. If you go on Torvik since February 1st, they're the second best team in the country, and they're right behind Gonzaga. It's time to start acting like it. This team actually defends. They're unselfish as hell. I don't know how you beat Iowa right now, and I love the region they're in to potentially make a run. So I have Iowa Cart all the way in my national championship game.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that pick. And also, I want to formally make the notion right now, because it needs to die, that Iowa does not play defense, because it doesn't apply to this year's team. This team is good defensively, especially I think when they have that Chris Murray and Keegan Murray lineup on the floor, because everything is switchable and their bigs are so mobile. I'm not saying guys Bohannon are defensive masterminds or stoppers, but even guys like Tony Perkins have come, made strides on both ends of the floor. Joe Toussaint's the guy that gets up in you and is able to play some good defense. So I'm not saying this team is just an unreal, one of the best defensive teams in the country, but, for everything that people say about Iowa playing defense, it's really what Purdue is defensively. They're not Iowa's not just an absolute walkover like they have been in the past couple of years defensively.
Yeah, there's a bunch of worse teams defensively.
Yes.
We're going to talk about one in just a second here. You mentioned Purdue. Toussaint is the heartbeat of this team, I would say. There's a lot of AJ Hoggard tendencies with Toussaint and with Perkins, to be honest. They're energy guys. They're tough as hell. Toussaint was picking dudes up full length of the court. Once he saw that Xavier Johnson was kind of getting the crowd going, he literally just picked him up and face guarded him the entire length of the court and kind of limited Xavier Johnson mentally for a few minutes in a big stretch of that game. I love the combination of the skill that the Murray brothers have mixed with the audacity of Jordan Bohannon, mixed with the defense of this backcourt, mixed with the classic Fran McCaffrey way. Peyton Sandford is just going to be Joe Wieskamp in a year. I swear to God, he's good.
I feel like I missed that guy the whole year, and then all of a sudden he's just in the game, just
right,
making it happen.
Who is he? He's a 6'8" wing that can just kill threes with a hand in his face when it matters. I am in love with this Iowa roster, and it's time to put some respect on Fran.
And family is a factor. Family wins in March.
Family wins in March. I said 2 Murrays is too many Murrays, and 2 McCaffreys, not enough McCaffreys. We need 3 or 4 McCaffreys. But I'm in on Iowa. Halfway through my takes, I'll fly through these other ones. Fourth one, Cart. Ohio State, they're dead. Stick a fork in them. They are done. I've been on this for months. I think you've slowly started to accept that I'm right here. I don't know if the rest of the conference or the country has. These dudes do not compete. They're a mediocre team with one really great player and one soon to be really great player, and then a bunch of bumps. Jamari Wheeler should not be a third option on any team in the country. Justin Aarons is worse than Kyle Aarons was in his senior year. And that's no shots at Kyle Aarons, but he was like a ninth option, not a fourth option. Zed Key's hurt. Kyle Young's biggest strength is flexing his muscles. This team has nothing to like. They're the Manny Harris, Deshaun Sims era Michigan team, and they somehow worked their way into a top 25 ranking all year. If this team ran it back next year, they'd miss the tournament. I'm convinced of it. They don't defend whatsoever. And I'm so excited for Loyola to run these dudes off the floor later this week, Cart.
Yeah, I'm on board with you, and it kills me because, I love EJ Liddell, but the rest of this team is just not it.
They don't guard at all.
No.
Like, they were up 10 against Penn State, and that game was never over because they couldn't handle John Harrar and Jalen Pickett.
Right. Yeah. I have no in recent weeks, I've had rebuttals for Ohio State takes. I can't defend them anymore.
Yeah.
And they can't defend anyone anymore. So.
Remember when 3 weeks ago it was a conversation if Keegan Murray was better than EJ Liddell?
Yeah, and we all make mistakes.
Not anymore. All right, fifth take. The top three teams in regular season standings: Illinois, Wisconsin, Purdue. Cart. I think all three of these teams are in big trouble in March. And here's what I saw from them in the week that was at the tournament. Illinois didn't care at all. They didn't want to be here. They were playing Andre Curbelo like he was their star. They were running every offensive action for him. It had a weird effect on Plummer and Frazier. Like, you could visibly see Plummer and Frazier just take a step back and feel like they were disengaged in the second half of that game. I don't know if that's by design. It's a weird time for it because Illinois is horrible when Curbelo is at the center of everything. And I don't think they have a good identity right now heading into the tournament. They're also going to face a Chattanooga team, Cart, that has a high major level center in Silvio D'Souza. And some dudes on the wing that are not going to be afraid of Illinois. So I'm worried about them. Wisconsin, like, Johnny Davis might just be very hurt. We don't know. It looked like he was quote unquote healthy going into that game, but he was just so horrible that I have real concerns for where this Wisconsin team goes. And then Purdue makes the run to the title game. But I'll be honest, Cart, if Purdue is who we all hoped they would be, they should have beaten Iowa and they should have won that tournament. This was their moment to prove that they were the team that should hang a banner in the Big Ten. Probably the only opportunity for them to get a banner this year. And they couldn't beat Iowa. And again, I am really high on Iowa, but Iowa looked like the team that was better from start to finish in that game. And Iowa has a lot less talent than Purdue. Purdue kept Michigan State in the game for long stretches, and I don't think Michigan State played particularly well. So I'm out. I think all three of these teams, Cart, will lose by the Sweet 16 at the latest, and there's not a lot of hope for a deep run from the Big Ten other than the Hawkeyes this year.
Yeah, I'm on board with that for sure. I told you before the Big Ten tournament started, when we did our last unscripted episode, we did a preview. Like, this had to be a message for Purdue going into March, and they had a chance and they weren't able to make it. So I can't get on board with this team as much as I want to because the talent is there. I just can't.
Also, Jaden Ivey's tailbone has to hurt so much right now.
The floor needs to be addressed at Gainbridge. Like, there was ankles slipping. Everyone was just, ugh.
Yeah, it's a little messy. All right. My next take, Cart, is Michigan State related. So let's flip to the Spartans week that was at the Big Ten tournament. Here's my take, Cart. I think the Spartans are ready for March, and we're going to talk about their draw, but there was a very clear we expect to win vibe from this Michigan State roster that I don't know that I expected or felt during the regular season, especially during their bad stretches, Cart. This team came out and had a very solid first game against Maryland. Obviously got dicey against the press late, but for the most part, they were the much better team, dominating Maryland the majority of that game. Then game two comes, and they outplay Wisconsin pretty much from start to finish. I said Max Christie put Johnny Davis in his pocket for 40 minutes. That's true. And again, they weren't surprised by this. They weren't going crazy. They weren't doing victory laps. There was no element of surprise. This was like Michigan State's here to win the Big Ten tournament because that's what we do. We're Tom Izzo and Michigan State, and we do this every year. And that's a sizable shift from what I've seen body language wise from Michigan State over the last month and a half of the season. Ultimately, they couldn't get by Purdue, who is just in a total different stratosphere as far as talent goes. But I'm curious how this applies as they get into next week, Cart, because their draw is tough. I mean, Davidson followed by Duke, we're going to talk about it, is about as nightmarish of a matchup for the first two games that I could think of for this Michigan State team. But like, I don't think they're going to feel like they don't belong. I think this Michigan State team is probably going to go into these games feeling like they can make a Sweet 16, and maybe belief can go a long way. Cart, what did you see from your Spartans body language wise during the week of the tournament?
Yeah, I think to take a line from what you saw, because I agree with it 100% when you texted me after the game, I thought that the most telling thing for Michigan State in this tournament was that they went down like 9 to 12 points in that Purdue game. And I've seen at points this year where this Michigan State team is, for lack of a better term, rolled over and died and just let games get out of hand. And I thought they battled. They had some little nagging things with Tyson Walker being out of the game. Max seemed to be tired and completely out of the game on both ends of the floor. And we still had a chance and had chances to win that basketball game. So, I think it was telling as far as this team's mentality that we're able to fight and battle. I love the 3-game stretch from Marcus Bingham in this Big Ten tournament. I thought he was engaged. I thought he was in the game. He was playing upwards of 20 minutes plus, which I thought was great. And like we've said, the running term and theme of this year has been when Marcus Bingham plays major minutes. And when the Michigan State was playing their best, it was when Marcus Bingham was on the floor and getting 20 plus minutes. So that was good to see. But as far as this matchup with Davidson, I think we can't go back on what we've been saying all year, Greg. And we've been saying that this Davidson team is a team that no one in the country wants to get drawn against in the NCAA tournament, especially in the first round. And what do you know? The committee who loves storylines, they got us the Foster lawyer matching up with his old team agenda, which is in full force, which I, by the way, just for the record, hate. Just want that to be known.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just go into Davidson at this point. Foster lawyer's the headline, but it's not the story. Okay. Yes. There will be some local pieces, I'm sure, about what this means to lawyer, about what this means to Tom Izzo. Izzo came to the press conference and essentially said he hopes Michigan State fans don't behave toward lawyer as they did in the past. Izzo's been very protective of certain players, a lot of times Clarkston players, or a lot of times Caucasian players, looking at Joey Hauser, not to draw anything from that, but I'm just like, he seems to protect a certain type of player here. Right. But look, State fans were assholes to Foster. I've been an asshole to Foster. Okay. Like, I make jokes. I put a video out earlier this year. Foster lawyer fell on his ass and Davidson lost a game and didn't cover because of it with 2 minutes left in the game. Like, he just does funny shit. At the same time, lawyer's a great piece for this Davidson team. You've said it all along. He found his level. He's playing really high level basketball. He got hurt within the last 3 weeks and had to come off the bench for a game after missing a couple. I am curious how healthy he is at this point. But the thing is, this is not Foster Lawyer's team. I mean, he is the leading scorer on this team, but this is a really, really balanced team with a bunch of guys who at their own position probably would look like Foster Lawyer at Michigan State, right? Like Brakovich is not a Big Ten big, but he's a big that can get you 20 if he's going up against a guy who doesn't block shots like a Julius Marble. Hyungjung Lee is a potential like G League level wing or a guy who could potentially get a two-way and work his way into the league. He's a guy that can get 20 any given night, can shoot on the move, can put it off the floor. I don't know that he'd be an all Big Ten player, but he's a guy that any coach in the country should want. Then they surround those guys with a bunch of other shooters. All 6 of their top 6 shoot 38% from 3 or more on a ton of attempts. It's a scary team just for the shooting alone, Cart. Michigan State also shoots the ball well, but that's got to be number one concern, right?
Yeah, and it's not just shooting, it's offense in general. I think in the latest one I saw in offensive efficiency, this Davidson team is 11th in the country. And that's a testament not only to the shooting, but just the great offense that McKillop and these guys run. They're very hard to stop. Now, for everything that we say about Michigan State and the gripes that we had about them this year, the metrics and all the numbers line up that this is a good defensive team. And that is what will work in our favor this game. With that said, the one area where I think we should be able to exploit Davidson is defensively. And defensive efficiency, they're like 150th. They've been in that range for the whole year. But this Michigan State team is a team that has shown that they cannot score in the half-court offense. Like, this is not a team that scores in the half-court. So how are we supposed to be able to take advantage of a team that doesn't really show great tendencies defensively if we can't execute in the half-court? Because all we have is pin down screens. And then if we don't get that, it seems that our team shits themselves. So I'm not really sure where we go from that point. And also, I'm a little higher on Lee than you are. Like, I think that if we're picking the best players on the floor, Davidson's going to have the best player on the floor in this game.
And it's Lee. Wow. See, I guess in my head, I don't know that Davidson would tell you Lee's their best player is the only reason I view it that way. Like, I think they're so balanced that any given night he could be their best player, but any given night Foster could, any given night Menenga could, any given night Brakovich could. Like, they just got dudes that all share the ball and are very unselfish. And it reminds me of Loyola's offense. Like, we talk about Loyola rarely ever takes a bad shot. Mm-hmm. The difference to me between Davidson and Loyola this year is Loyola ends up with Lucas Williamson taking some superstar shots, whether he should or whether he has to. Like, Lucas, it ends up needing to be the guy. Davidson, to me, has so much balance, they don't even need there to be a guy. And it's more so because their offense hums on all cylinders so much. Like, Michigan State, even, we've talked about, they're really balanced, but like, they still need a guy because they're balanced in a way of like Max Christie's still on the floor giving you nothing. And Gabe Brown's on the floor even when he's missing shots. And they're too balanced at center because two guys are splitting minutes. Same at the four, same at the point guard. Like, that's not the deal with Davidson. Davidson plays six guys and all six of them shoot. And they get a good look every time. And they don't turn the ball over. That's the other thing we haven't talked about, Card, is like, Davidson is top 15 in the country and not turning the ball over. Michigan State is bottom 30 in the country. They always turn the ball over. So, like, I can promise you, just going into this game, absolutely promise you, three things are going to happen. Davidson's going to win the turnover battle, probably by a lot. They're going to have more possessions than Michigan State, just strictly off of taking care of the basketball. Two, Davidson is a top 20 team in the country. I think they're actually 8th in the country in defensive rebounding. Like, they don't give up offensive boards. So, is Marble and Sissoko going to come in for 18 minutes in this game and kill on the offensive rebounds? No. Marcus Bingham could with his length, but again, we're asking Marcus Bingham to be on the floor way more than he has been. To me, again, Michigan State's not going to get extra possessions in this game, both from turnovers and rebounds. And then three, Davidson's going to hit shots if they're open. Mm-hmm. So, both teams can shoot the three. To me, there's not going to be a lot of variance where one team shoots the lights out and one doesn't. But if Davidson makes 10 plus threes and wins the turnover battle and keeps Michigan State off the glass, I just think that's a nightmare matchup. What does Michigan State need to do to flip that?
So let me ask you this though: are they necessarily going to win the turnover battle? Because it's not a team that forces turnovers.
Michigan State doesn't need a team to force turnovers. Michigan State thinks they're Travion Williams and will throw it into the 13th row. Especially, as much as I shit on Tyson Walker, if he's limited, that means we're getting 35 AJ Hoggard minutes, and AJ Hoggard will flip that ball.
Yeah, he will. Okay, this to me, this is key. And once again, this is another situation where it doesn't bode exactly well for Michigan State, unfortunately. We cannot have a slow start. If any of these guys get a couple easy ones and start feeling good about themselves, then it's not going to look pretty. We need to get up in these dudes, need to run them off the line. And in a perfect world, we're up in them and we're forcing them to our 7-footer who's standing at the rim and making things tough, or they're taking tough twos, basically. But we cannot let these dudes get going from three because it will get dirty. They got all their dudes can shoot. You already said it, G. Every single one who's going to touch the floor in a Davidson jersey is going to be able to shoot the ball. People don't even talk about Mason Jones. I'm sorry, is it Mason or Mike?
I think it's Mike. Mason Jones played at Arkansas, right?
Yeah, Mike Jones has had some years a couple of games this year where he's like strapped like 6 or 7 threes. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys who can basically get it done. We got to run everybody off the 3-point line. It sounds simple, but you got to run everybody off the 3-point line, and we have to have better discipline as far as helping off the strong side corner, because I already told you off the pod, like this team loves to break down defensively and help off strong side corner and give up corner threes.
Yeah,
they do it a lot. So we need to be mentally prepared to play this basketball game and execute. So hopefully the game plan is correct. Hopefully everybody buys in and we don't get a slow start.
Yeah, so I'm not saying they can't beat Davidson. Obviously, Davidson's coming off a loss to Richmond. Richmond wasn't even going to make the tournament prior to that game. So it could obviously happen if Michigan State plays well. But I'm just playing this through in my head, Cart. How does this game go if both teams play the way they want to play? I think it favors Davidson pretty strongly, because what I know very strongly is that Marcus Bingham's going to check out at 17:30. And if Davidson struggles to get shots, like you said, you try to force him into some tough twos in that first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You know where they're going when Julius Marble checks in? That ball's in Brakovich's hands, and he's going to get whatever he wants with Julius Marble guarding him. Like, again, no disrespect to Julius Marble, but he cannot guard good post.
And you cannot double. I'm going to let you finish, but you can't double and you cannot help.
You can't double and you can't help. So that's, again, Michigan State has been sending weird doubles. They were doubling Brad Davison in the post against Wisconsin earlier this week at the Big Ten tournament. I was like, what are we even doing? I can't wait to see what the game plan is there. But again, if you're doubling Davidson, bad luck with how good they are at shooting and passing. And if you don't double Brakovich, whenever Marcus Bingham's not in the game, he's going to eat. And they will get, I promise you, Davidson's too smart and too good at taking the ball or taking care of the ball to take bad shots in this game. So to me, like, the best thing Michigan State could do to win, which, surprise, surprise, Cart, Marcus Bingham needs 30 minutes. He's the difference maker in this game. But that's not going to happen. It hasn't happened all year. So then,
but maybe this is it, man. Last hoorah, last Marcus Bingham dance. Give me all you got, Mark.
I mean, Bingham dominated the Big Ten tournament games, dude. Like,
yeah,
he was killer in the first 2 games. But this is like, maybe we get that awesome moment from Marcus Bingham. Maybe we do. Maybe he plays 25 minutes and is the best player on the floor. I think that would be the best path for Michigan State. I'm skeptical that happens just because of Izzo's substitution patterns. And even if that doesn't happen, like, the next place you turn is, what's AJ Hoggard's line look like? And AJ Hoggard probably needs to have like a 15 and 8 and 2 to 3 turnovers max type game. And he's capable. But at the same time, Cart, Hoggard's biggest performances this season have mostly come in losses, other than the big Purdue game where he was great. He was the best player on the floor when they beat Purdue at the press. I'm curious what the correlation is there with a more involved AJ Hoggard versus team success. Don't know that it always leads to what we think it is, even though I'm a Hoggard guy. So I don't know. I think what Davidson wants to do plays well into their likelihood of winning this game versus what Michigan State wants to do. I think you're going to need a big Malik Hall, Max Christie game. And I saw it with my own eyes, Cart. Max Christie is a liability right now. Yeah. Absolute liability. I don't know that there's another team in the Big Ten he would play 32 minutes on right now.
Yeah, I don't know. And I feel like it's a thing for me where I feel like this is a great spot to maybe even put a guy like Jay Nakins in and give him some of those minutes, because you're not doing Max any favors by leaving him out there for 32 minutes just to struggle. Like, if anything, you're wearing him out, and it's just making things even worse than what they already are. So I get that Max is a player who can knock down shots and has the ability to, but right now,
shots.
He can. He has at some points this year against bad teams that you have made noted, he has knocked down shots. Yes.
But like, on the totality of his season, even including the good games, he's sub 30% right now.
Yeah. He can. I'm saying he has not done it this year, but he has the ability to.
Okay. I mean, it's at some point, it's like, who'd this kid play in high school? Competition wasn't great. Who did he do well against? It? Like,
we're going back. Okay. No.
I'm going off what we've now seen for a full year. Like this dude is Chase Audige with longer legs and curly.
Okay, watch your mouth.
He's Chase Audige with longer legs and hair curly.
Please watch your mouth. There's comparing players and there's just saying things that are just downright disrespectful.
If you want me to pull the numbers, I can. The closest player to what Max Christie's done this year in the Big Ten is Chase Audige.
And what's Chase Audige? Chase Audige, what, a senior?
I mean, we better see a whole new guy next year.
Yeah, I would bet any money that we do.
We'll see.
Just saying. But back to the Davidson.
He's first team all freshman. Maybe he'll go pro card.
Back to the
usually first team all freshman guys go pro.
You're pissing me off.
I'm just saying. He's one of the 5 best freshmen in the league, Cart.
Dude, God, man, you're really. I wish they would have thrown Caleb Houston on there so you're hurt.
I have a Cormac agenda, man. The dude stinks. He's the worst player on Michigan State right now.
Oh wow.
In the starting lineup, he is. In the starting lineup, yes.
Yeah. Actually,
he is.
Tyson.
That's saying a lot from me when I'm comparing him to Tyson Walker. And I'm saying the worst, like.
Yeah, but all right. I also want to touch on the whole notion that we need to out physical this team. Basically, it sounds good on paper. It does. I don't think we need to out physical them necessarily because we're just some physical force and like these guys are a bunch of like little lower level A10 Foster lawyers. Like these dudes are, besides Foster lawyer, you guys a bunch of 6'6" and up guys. Just throwing that out there for anybody out there, 6'6" guys that aren't just string beans. But I think that physicality is going to play an effect in this game because physicality can wear dudes out and that will cause shooting woes. So I think that in this game, in order for us to win, we cannot let Davidson have a game where they're just going off from 3. So one of the ways you can stop shooters is you can make them feel it on the other end when they're playing defense, and you can make sure you run them off the 3-point line. It's all going to factor into the fact that they won't be shooting easy looks and they'll be shooting looks when they're tired because they're not going to shoot bad looks. You can't bank on that. Like everything we've seen about this Davidson team is that that's what their offense is. They take really good shots. So you got to make them feel it on the defensive end and you got to run them off the 3-point line. This game's a toss up. It really is. Like these are 2 teams that could go either way. If Davidson beats us, it's not an upset. If we beat Davidson, it's just we were the better. It's not an upset either. We're just a better team that day. Like this is a game where it's a toss up and it can go either way. And it's what teams are going to make more plays in order to take the other team out of the game that they play. Yeah. So like we said, game plan and execution is going to be huge. But if you want to be honest with ourselves, if it comes to game planning and comes to execution, this year, Bob McKillop and his team and his players are better at execution and playing a game plan and, starting games out fast than Michigan State is.
Yeah. You know what else though? Like maybe another way of saying it, better than execution or better at game planning, better at all that, Cart. They might just be better at basketball. Can I say that? That's essentially my take here is that the guys that Davidson's going to play in this game, there's 6 guys, I think are better at basketball than the combination of the 11 guys that Tom Izzo is going to play. And if Tom Izzo is going to play his top 6, I might feel very different about this.
Yeah, top 6.
I might if I knew I could get 28 minutes from Malik Hall and 28 minutes from Marcus Bingham and 20 good minutes from Hauser off the bench and Gabe Brown for 32. And like, if I knew that, if I just knew those were the guys that are going to play, I think I'd probably comfortably pick Michigan State in this spot. But I think Marble's going to get absolutely torched. I think Max Christie's going to have to chase Hung Jung Lee, and Hung Jung Lee's a better player right now. I don't know what we're going to get from AJ or Hogard / Tyson Walker. If Walker tries to play, he's hobbled. If he doesn't, Izzo saying Max Christie might run the point, which screams loss. I don't care who they're playing. Look, Davidson has a small rotation. Everybody can shoot. They never do anything stupid. They're experienced as hell. Like, and if you're curious about what talent can look like somewhere else from Davidson, look at Kellen Grady. He was the best player on Davidson for the last 3 seasons. Goes to Kentucky, and he's their premier perimeter scoring threat for the entire season on the most talented team in the country. Like, Hung Jung Lee is a dude. And I know we've seen Foster Loyer at the highest level in a Michigan State system that didn't fit him at all, but like, these guys can play. And I guess that means it's time for prediction time, Cart. You can probably tell where I'm headed. I have Davidson winning this game. What do you have?
No, I have Michigan State winning this game. I think it's going to be close. But I'm banking on Michigan State to execute in this game. And I think they're going to pull it off. It's going to be close, though. Don't get me wrong. But I do think that Michigan State's going to win this basketball game.
I'm going to feel dumb. Like, maybe I'll crack an actual egg on my face if Michigan State beats Davidson in this game, because I feel like I've just been shitting on this team for so long. And I just watched them in person and was super impressed with Michigan State.
But it's also not we're not going to get going, but it's also not shitting on them. Like, Davidson is a really good basketball team.
That's the extent of this. Like, if we flip the matchups, if Michigan State played Colorado State, I have Michigan State.
Like, but okay, like you put around that loss to Richmond, like the teams they lost to this year, San Francisco tournament team, New Mexico State tournament team. Let's see, they had a bad loss to Rhode Island in there. VCU was a team that was on the cuffs. Dayton, they lost to Dayton. That was a first 4 out team. Like, they lost to good teams and they had good wins on here. Like, they beat Alabama. Now, Alabama's not what they thought they were, but another tournament team, a really good team in the SEC.
Oh, what Alabama is, Card, a team that plays really stupid and turns the ball over and tries to out-athlete you. Like, I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
Now the Michigan State plays stupid because there's no comparison there. But, like, I don't know. This is not a game that you can just be, oh, we're more athletic, we're going to beat David.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, A10 ain't that, man. One bid A10, like – Too big because Richmond fluked something out.
That's true.
But, let's also relax. They did play in the A10.
All right. So a quick stat prediction. What's Foster Loyer's line in this game look like?
He'll score under 10. He'll have 8-9 points, 2-3 assists, and 2 turnovers. He's not going to make an impact that people think.
Can I ask you this? Are you going to be mentally and emotionally prepared for a Foster Loyer 21-point outing in which he has like back-to-back threes down the stretch and he's talking that shit?
I don't think I can take that.
Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's a distinct possibility here. It really is.
Oh, I want to make it to year 30, so let's hope not.
I'm trying to think of the closest comparison, man. Like, I just had to watch my team melt down while Xavier Johnson punked everybody on the Michigan roster. Like, there's a distinct possibility Foster gets hot and is looking to the camera and is chirping and pointing his finger, saying, "This my shit." And like Tyson Walker just can't hang. Like, that's a possibility.
Mr. and Mrs. Lawyer will be in the stands like, "Foster Andrew, stop that."
Okay. The one thing we should probably hit on before we wrap here, if Michigan State does beat Davidson, they are highly likely to play the Duke Blue Devils in Coach K's final season. A chance to send Coach K packing back home, which would be the final stamp in the Tom Izzo Coach K rivalry, which Coach K dominated for so many years. And Tom Izzo has won the last 2. Tom Izzo took the big one against Zion with Cassius Winston. And then he went into Duke and beat Duke last year with Rocket Watts. Very impressive from Tom Izzo. I'll just say my piece. I have Davidson beating Michigan State. I have Davidson beating Duke. I think this Duke team is pretty broken. I don't think they defend at all. And again, nightmare matchup for a team as smart and as skilled as Davidson. So I would have Duke losing, maybe not no matter who wins this game. I think it's a tough matchup for State. But if they play Davidson, I like Davidson. What would you make of a Duke-Michigan State matchup?
I think that Duke is finished. I'm not a believer. Yeah, I think Duke's finished. I think there's a bunch of guys who haven't shown as much improvements throughout the year that I thought. I think they started off strong, but the year game-to-game improvement hasn't been exactly what I like to see. I'm not a Jeremy Roach supporter. Paolo Banchero can look extremely funny in the light. If you stare really, really hard, he'll start to look like Montrezl Harrell.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, we're
I
not.
am.
No,
I
we're
am.
not.
Let's sag on that, man. Sag on that, man, and don't let him just out punk you and out physical you, and you'll be all right.
I mean, if your plan is to leave Paolo Banchero open, good luck with that.
Paolo Banchero is the third best player.
Who guards Paolo for Michigan State? You put Joey Hauser on him to start the game?
Well, we got a game against Davidson. Can I cross that bridge when we get there, please?
Yeah, I'm just like, here's my flip. Look, again, Michigan State can beat anybody.
I would zone Duke, even though I know we're not going to zone.
I've been harsh this episode, Cart, but I cannot believe that the consistent thing I'm hearing from Michigan State fans is, oh, I'm happy we're in Duke's region. I'm happy we can get a shot at
I'm
Duke.
not happy we're in Duke's
This
region.
is a good draw. No, it's not. This is like this.
Hold on a second. Out of the 2 seeds in this tournament, isn't Duke the one you want to play least?
I mean, I'd rather play Duke than Kentucky. Sure. Who are the other 2s?
Nova and Auburn.
I'd rather play Nova than Duke if I'm Michigan State, and I think I'd rather play Auburn than Duke if I'm Michigan State.
I disagree with that.
Do you know how bad Auburn's been for the last month of the season? And erratic,
Yeah.
like their guards are horrible. And Villanova, like you're not worried about size. They don't play anybody over 6'8", and Colin Gillespie's just Foster Lawyer with a better upbringing. So, like, I don't know. I just want people to remember what Duke is here. Like, there's a lot of pressure on this team, for sure. That's apparent. But also, there's not a more talented top 5 on any team in the country other than maybe Gonzaga. But, like, Gonzaga plays Rasir Bolton 40 minutes. So, I'm looking at Wendell Moore, Trevor Keels, Paolo Banchero, AJ Griffin, and Mark Williams. That is 5 ridiculous future pros. And the idea that Michigan State fans want this matchup and think it favors Michigan State in any way is effing nuts.
I can't believe you're out here caping for brotherhood Dion Waiters.
Keels?
Yes.
Hey, you know, we both saw Keels in the Champions Classic card. He just picks his spots. Just like
that's the last time he picked this spot. That boy got cooked by Hunter Couture.
No, I'm gonna say it's just like he picks his you pick 2 at Panera. Like he probably doesn't go to Panera. He probably goes somewhere else. But we've gotten into a trap here. Trevor Keels might be a bright lights player, is all I'm saying. He was early in the season. Maybe he gets back to that now.
You know where else the lights are bright? Golden Corral.
You know, if we stack ranked the Michigan State and Duke players 1 to 10 in this game, Michigan State's best player would be 6th. Correct? Trevor Keels is the best player on Michigan State.
Who are we calling Michigan State's best player?
Exactly. Trevor Keels would be the best player on Michigan State.
I'm taking a lot of guys on Michigan State over Jeremy Roach.
Jeremy Roach is the 6th best player on Duke.
6th?
Yeah.
Is there someone coming off the bench who's
Wendell Moore, Trevor Keels, AJ Griffin, Paolo Banchero, Mark Williams?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like that's it. Again, just remember who Duke is all I'm imploring Michigan State fans to do.
Yeah, I remember who Duke is. Duke is a team that barely won the ACC regular season title in a trash-ass ACC and couldn't even win the ACC title playing against Virginia Tech.
And Michigan State is the team that went 3-7 down the stretch. And it's like, come on.
Okay, go take this shit to Dre Dawkins podcast. All right, this is unscripted. All right.
I'm sorry. You're right. Look. It's a tough draw. That's all it is. If I could get a different draw in this tournament, I would probably talk my way into a Michigan State Sweet 16 because they're playing good basketball right now. But Davidson and Duke back-to-back card are like Davidson's the one mid-major I went into this trying to say I'm going to pick to the Elite Eight. Duke is the one of 5 teams I've said can win a title that I still believe in. So I don't like this pod. I'm sorry to you that your team has to go through that. And look, I'll probably look stupid when Michigan State makes a Sweet 16. There we go.
I hope so. I really hope so.
We'll find out. All right. So you have Michigan State playing Duke. What's the score of that game?
And honestly, in my heart of hearts, Duke probably wins that game after all I just said. But I figured that game won't be close, though. I think whatever team wins comfortably.
Between Michigan State and Duke?
Yeah.
You think Michigan State could win that game comfortably?
I think that whoever wins that basketball game, it'll be a comfortable win.
So you think Michigan State could beat Duke comfortably, yes or no?
Either team that
I need to hear you say
that
this.
game.
I need to hear you say this.
Yes, I think that if we do win the basketball game, it'll be a comfortable win.
All right. If I start running marathons, I will be a marathon runner. Cart. Does that work? Is that how this goes? Okay.
Yeah, why not?
All right. Well, safe travels home, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow for our big road trip. Any final words before the NCAA tournament? At least you have this, Cart. My team plays the first game of the week, and if they lose, I'm in shambles. You get to wait. You get to see 12 teams play before you.
I also get to stress it out up until that time. By the tip off, I will be in shambles. What do you mean?
You'll have enough drinks by then, my friend. It's better to be one of 30 teams left or 40 teams left by the time you tip than it is to be the first team out of the 64 team field.
That is true. Also, my David Roddy jersey will be on.
All right. All right. This was fun. A great season for Unscripted. Safe travels. Enjoy your time in Cali. Happy birthday, my friend.
See you tomorrow, my friend.